Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Yoyo. My name is T. Here we are back at it again with another yo-yo review. Today we're going to be looking at another Magic Yo-Yo, and this is turning into one of my favorites these days. We're going to be taking a look at the Magic Yo-Yo V3. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's take a closer look at the Magic Yo-Yo V3. So the shape is sort of a hybrid between a V and an H. It's got very, very big, thick rims here with very sharp cuts. You can see these minor cuts here along the rim, but it does have a really sharp rise from the bearing up to the rim itself, which I think gives it a hint of V, but at heart, I believe this is an H shape. You see there's a lot of rim weight here, nice little undercuts here you can see to add a lot more to the rim weight. In the cup here, you have a little rise for the axle. You can see it comes to a bit of a point, and then around that, this sort of concaved circle space here, which actually is surprisingly good for finger spins. The material is 6061 aluminum, feels very high quality, quite satiny, really nice for grinds. The feel of the yo-yo is definitely narrow. When you hold it, you're gonna feel that. It is very narrow. This one, I expected to get it for responsive play, but actually turned out to be unresponsive. But in any case, it is a narrow throw. The look of the yo-yo is quite special. I love this color. So it's black with a pink and blue splash, and it's got a little bit of an engraving around the edge here, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's fine. I think the splash would have been fine without it. But in any case, this thing is beautiful. Dylan Kowalski mentioned on his channel, it looks like punk rock. Really beautiful black with this splash over it, and the splash is so clean. This may be the cleanest splash I've ever seen on a Magic Yo-Yo. Through and through, the V3 has a really striking shape, even though it is playing it a little bit safe, and the color just has a lot of impact. I picked this up, and I picked up the T9 Rock as well from Spin Gear. Turned out this wasn't unresponsive, but I decided to get it anyway just because I love this color. I couldn't say no. I was picking it up to get it responsive, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I've really started liking this yo-yo a lot. It's surprisingly good. It's got a narrow shape, so I think it's good for training you on hitting the string. It does play really light. I think this is around 63 or 64 grams, so it's an extremely light yo-yo. And it's real fast too, so you're gonna be able to move this really quickly. It's really good at changing direction. And because of the narrow shape, I feel like it's extremely nimble as well. So I've actually been practicing this with doing string transitions and string hops and things like that, Eli hops, trying to practice my basics. And it's extremely challenging to hit a yo-yo this narrow. So I think this is a great yo-yo for training you when you're trying to practice black hops and stuff like that. This thing is really smooth too. It's not the smoothest Magic Yo-Yo I've ever had, but it's definitely up there, maybe an 8 or 9 out of 10 smoothness. And another thing I really like about it is when you take it apart to tune it, I've had to take it apart a couple times. It hasn't added any vibe at all. It's been really, really solid the whole time. Grinds are pretty good on this. It's a little narrow, so you are going to have to work to get your finger in there just right, and if you're not careful, it's going to tilt a little bit, but it does grind once you get your finger in there nicely. The finish does apply itself to grinds real well. Finger spins actually work on this thing too. Like I mentioned before, there's a bit of a nub in here for the axle, but around that it's slightly concaved. So it is going to spin around a fair amount, and it's going to give you plenty of time to set up a bind. But I have to say the two things that really strike me about this are, one, how narrow it is, and two, how fast it is. It just is really, really fast. And something I was worried about with the lightness, and once I started throwing it at first, was I didn't think it was going to be a very long spinner, and I thought the lightness would kind of make it a little bit less playable. Surprisingly, this thing plays fantastically. It's a really, really long spinner for being as light as it is, and I suppose that's because you've thrown a bunch of the weight out to the rims. So overall, I've been really impressed with the V3. I think it's kind of overlooked. A lot of people have been noticing Magic Yo-Yo's recent stuff, like the carp fin is fantastic, the Vapor Motion, the Metal Skyway. There's a lot of premium throws coming out for Magic Yoyo, but I think this is really overlooked. More people need to check this thing out. It is extremely playable and it looks really great and it's cheap to boot. So I'm really enjoying my time with this thing. So first pro, it looks fantastic. This splash is really gorgeous. Pink and blue, nice combination on the black. And like I said, it's one of the cleanest splashes I've ever seen on a Magic Yoyo. It's really cheap. It came in around 30 bucks or so. I know you can actually get it cheaper than that, but because I went to Spin Gear and I wanted to get it in person and look at the different splashes, I don't mind paying a little extra. Plus I save on shipping. Yeah, I didn't think being lighter and being a little bit more on the kind of narrow side, I didn't think it would spin that long, but it gets through all my combos really, really well. It's extremely playable despite everything, grinds, finger spins. I didn't expect it to be so capable. It's capable of doing quite a bit. I like the narrow shape. I think it's good for training and it's kind of come at a great time for me. I'm practicing a lot of tricks that involve whips and slacks and getting strings into different places and landing the yo-yo on different strings, so it's been really getting me consistent there too. One thing I should have mentioned earlier too, I always forget this part, is the response on this thing. It actually takes a little bit of breaking in. But once it gets broken in, pads work extremely well, especially if you're using a thicker string. Right now I'm using a zip line. This is their winter string, and that string has been working fantastically well with it. I guess the only con I could say, and this is something that people complain about a lot with Magic Yoyo, is the pads felt a little bit slippery, but that's at first. I actually was going to buy new replacement pads for this, and I ended up not doing it because once I played with it for a little bit and I put a bit of a thicker string in, they've worked really well. No sense of snagginess, just grabby only when you need them to. And because this thing has a long spin to it as well, it's really reliable that you can always get your bind back when you need to. I think the Magic Yoyo V3 is for just about anybody who wants to get into Magic Yoyo, who wants a cool looking yo-yo for not too much. That's kind of the magic of Magic Yoyo, right? It is a little bit on the narrow side, and that's probably because it's meant to be responsive, or that it can be converted to responsive. I feel like for the price, which I've seen them for anywhere from $15 to $30, depending on where you get them and the splashes you get them in. I feel like it's an extremely playable throw for a really, really good price, and it looks nice. It's a really fun yo-yo. Not only is it good at training you, but it's just a lot of fun, not just because of the color, but just everything about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Please keep in mind I'm over at Yoyo Store Rewind. I do reviews for them on occasion. Tokyo Yoyo is always going to be free, but if you ever want to go over to Yoyo Store Rewind, you can do that and check out the reviews I make for them too. Thanks so much to the artist CloZee for the use of their song Koto, which I used in the intro of this video and the outro. So thank you so much to CloZee. I'll have links in the description for that. You should go check out their stuff, of course. All right, thanks so much for watching. Take care, have a nice day, and sayonara.